Welcome back to another video, and today I thought would be a good day to go for a good blast out in Jay's newly tuned Focus ST. This mega little Focus has been on quite a journey since I got it. Jay asked me to get it back on the road for him. It developed quite a bad misfire. He parked it up and left it alone for 18 months. He obviously knew that I had a YouTube channel and said, Ben, I've got a few quid, a bit of time, can we get my Focus ST back on the road? Now, it's not just this car that's been on a mad journey, so have I. There's so much stuff I've learned since working on this car with the help from Ash, the grumpy mechanic. We were told that a common fault on this car was the cylinder liners. They can crack, and that's what causes the misfire. So instantly, rather than looking at the simple things, the things that it could easily be, I started looking at the cylinder liners. I got a camera down there and having a look, and they all looked absolutely fine. Ash then come along with his infinite knowledge of mechanicking and said, mate, have you checked the coil packs and the spark plugs and things like that? Well, no, I obviously haven't, because I just went on advice as to what it's most common to be, and I went investigating that. Ash come in, changed some bits around, and he said if it's the coil pack, it's going to be this cylinder, if it's the spark plug, it's going to be this cylinder. New coil pack later, and the car's running absolutely mint. We then went and serviced it. Needed a good service, not been serviced for a long time. The brakes were very worn, all the discs were rusty, the calipers were seized, so we bought some reconditioned calipers off eBay, pretty cheap to be fair. We then went and got it MOT'd. That was the most important job, getting it through its MOT, and unbelievably this car absolutely flew through its MOT. So once the MOT was done, we got it to the body shop, painted the roof, painted the bumper, painted a couple of other little bits and bobs, and made it look like a brand new condition. Once it was then looking mint, we got it to Collins Performance along with the Focus RS, and we updated the tune on it, because the tune was a code red tune, which was years old. I think they said it was 2007, 2008, something like that. So we've updated that for the new Collins Performance tune, and this car now goes like the clappers. One thing I've thought to myself while driving this car, Focus STs vary wildly in value. Some are really cheap, some are really expensive. It's just a really strange sort of market, the Focus ST market. But I'm sure I've seen them from as little as about 3 or 4 grand. Now, for the money, is there a better car that looks as good? Because in my opinion, even the pre-facelift Focus ST Mark II, it looks good. They sound epic. That 2.5 litre 5-pot sounds so good. It pulls well, it's tunable, it's comfortable. These seats are mint, it drives really well. Is there anything for that kind of money that ticks all of those boxes? I don't know. You tell us in the comments. What would you have over this car for 3 or 4 grand? If anybody's considering a Focus ST or a Focus RS, and I realise they are different cars, but if you're conscious about the price of parts, absolutely do not go for the Focus RS, because I'm literally lost for words at the cost of parts for that car. This, on the other hand, is miles better. And it's a huge shame for the Focus RS, you know, because they're not massively expensive to buy. Yes, for a good condition one, you're looking at £20,000-25,000 maybe. Ours wasn't in good condition and was 14.5 grand. And the difference in the cost of parts for both cars is a joke, considering we've had a 2007 Audi RS4 and the prices for parts on that car were nowhere near the Mark II Focus RS. And it's a shame, you know, because I think people are going to buy that Focus RS like the one we've bought, and they can't afford to maintain them. They can't. I mean, drop links on it each are £120 just for a drop link. The wishbones, the front wishbones, are like £400-500 each for the front wishbones. It's like, who's making these prices up? And that brings me back to the Focus ST, and I just think this ticks most of the boxes, not all. I think the Focus RS looks better, I think it handles a bit better, but it doesn't sound much better, and the interior is very, very similar. Yes, it's probably a bit more tunable. I don't think you're getting £10,000 worth more of car, I really don't, and that's driving these cars back to back as well. Yes, obviously the Focus RS is more exclusive, a lot more exclusive, but I just don't see it, because I think people are going to own them cars like the one we've got and just neglect them and put parts on them that they shouldn't be putting on them because they can't afford. And I'm including myself in this, by the way. I can't afford the parts prices for that car, and that then ultimately ruins a superb car. And I think, you know, Ford and other manufacturers need to have a look at that and just say, do you know what? Yeah, I think that we are taking the piss with the price of parts at the minute, because we all know how much wishbones should be. There's plenty of wishbones out for other cars that are a tenth of the price, so there's no justification for a, I don't know, a £50 to £100 part being 500 quid. There's no justification for that whatsoever. But anyway, rant over. I'm going to go and blast this through the lanes. Something that definitely isn't as entertaining to drive as this Focus is our rather peculiar looking Porsche Cayenne that we bought without doing a car vertical report. Do you know the torque steer? It's so much fun trying to battle this, keeping it in a straight line. Had we done a car history check before we bought this car, we'd have realised it had actually been previously damaged. Everything else seems to check out fine, but this car is a category N write-off. Now, fortunately for us on this occasion, this Cayenne was so cheap it didn't make too much of a difference that it was a category car, as it's worth a lot more than we paid for it in bits anyway. Ourselves, as well as many others, haven't been so lucky and have been stuck with a lemon they've unknowingly paid over the odds for. But I tell you what, for a car that's so old, it's so capable, and you get loads of feedback from the steering wheel. It feels really, really light and nimble, and it gives you a little bit of feedback when you're going through the corners and it's fighting against you a little bit. So good, this car. Car Vertical checks thousands of different databases to make sure you've got all the information you need. And just listen to it. 5-pot sounds so good. It's making me miss my RS3. Something else I noticed on this report is the Cayenne has only ever failed one MOT, and that was its first one back in 2008. Always very suspect to me that. Anyway, if you want to go and get your own Car Vertical report, make sure you check out the link in the description below and use code EvilGT for your money off. Now hopefully Jay doesn't mind the fact I've hooned his car around the country lanes in Warrington all morning, but to make it up to him, I'm going to give it a good clean and sort this interior out. But first things first, I bought a new gadget, and it's a Bissell Spot Clean Pro. Annoyingly, I went and bought an upholstery cleaner, but I didn't buy a hoover, so I can't help him with that, but I am going to clean these seats up. He did blame his kids, although this is the driver's seat. Look at the difference with that. That's absolutely perfect. And the passenger seat looks miles better now too, look at that. Hopefully after all that it'll smell a bit better in there too. If you missed the previous video on this car, you won't have seen Gary tuning it at Collins Performance. I spent 2 days with the guys there working on the Focus RS, and we just had no time at all left to get this on the dyno. That's exactly where I'm going now. That's right, we've come to see the guys at DC Remapping in Birchwood. Now before we go and do this, I've literally just asked Jay exactly what fuel is in this car, and he's just replied with 97. He thinks near to his mum and dad's house, BP. Now that isn't the end of the world, but it'll definitely affect these horsepower figures. Now don't blame me, this was a bit of a smash and grab thing. The guys have very kindly squeezed me in last minute. There's nothing I can do about it. So that's 256 wheel. We're saying that's around about 284.
Yeah, 84, yeah, 85 at a push.
What an amazing result, 284 horsepower. Thank you very much to the guys again at DC Remapping. Bunch of legends fitting us in last minute. Collins Performance tune, there you go, 284 horsepower. It made 256 horsepower at the wheels, absolute beast. I hope Jay's happy because this car is completely finished. If you've enjoyed today's video, thank you very much for watching. Please do consider liking and subscribing. I'll put all the links to DC Remapping in the description box below. Make sure you check them out. If you want any remapping or just some dyno runs, give Dan a shout and get yourself down here. Thank you very much. Take care.